So go ahead and give your approval to be recorded. I just thought, I was going through pictures this morning on a couple of my photo reference sites, and I just thought this one was so sweet that we had to do it. So we are going to grid today, which means you'll need a ruler as usual. And we're going to, because we're gridding, we want to work what we call one-to-one transmission. So if this paper is one size and this is another, the grid will not work. Like if this is a little bit taller and a little bit wider, the grid won't work because the proportions won't be the same. So the proportions, for those of you who are working with bigger paper, like 11 by 14 inches, or I don't know, A3 European printer paper, you're gonna wanna mark off an area that is, you're gonna wanna mark off an area that is 21.5 by 14 centimeters. This is also a computer printer paper, so it's 8.5 by 11 inches. I kind of think a 9 by 12 inch sheet of paper will also work, but no bigger than that. Okay. And so we'll start by drawing the grid. Now I'd like you to use a pencil on this blank sheet, on your blank sheet of paper, but I need to grid the source for you. So I'll show you how to grid the source as usual. Oops. I'm like struggling to keep everything in the right place. There we go. So I am lining up my ruler, kind of see it here. I'm lining up my ruler at the bottom of the paper with one edge here, one edge here, and I'm finding the halfway point. If you're using inches and you're using an 8.5 by 11 inch paper, this is 4.25, and I'm marking it here. And then I'm doing the same thing up here at the top. So that when I draw my first line across, I know these are equal halves. I know I'm dividing this equally in half. I'm going to do the same thing with the long side. It's 5.5 or 14 inches or 14 centimeters. Notice that I'm being kind of careful very careful, to make sure I'm always lining up my ruler with the edge of my paper. It's easy, people will often show me, what did I do wrong? You know, it's easy to get this part wrong if you're not being careful about how you hold your ruler. And I realize, you know, the ruler, like anything else, like a hammer, like a saw, like anything, is a tool. And we have to, you know, get practice in using it. And I think it's an old school tool, so we don't really use it that often. You're going to go back down to your halves and find the halfway point for each half. If you're using inches and an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, that's 2.2 inches. Really dumb measurement if you ask me, but there you go. Notice I'm carefully lining up my ruler. So I like this process because it brings us slowly, oh, and I think I got that wrong, yep. Here it is. I like this process because it slowly brings us into this zone. So even if you're feeling a little discombobulated, which is really normal, because we're coming from left brain world, this is like your entry point, right? It's your zone where you get to slow things down. If you're using inches, the halfway point on this side is 2.75 inches. Unless you're using a 9 by 12, then it's a little bit different. 3. But I even though I don't generally, it's not entirely true. I do in some ways use a kind of modified grid. When I'm working on a particularly complex cityscape, I will often mark, I won't draw the lines, but I'll mark like the center and the halfway point here, so I know where the quadrants are when I'm trying to like sort of round things, particularly if I'm using a vanishing point. And we're gonna really focus on this Uber figure, these two birds, which are one, because they're kissing or something. Let's see if I can get this across. So as usual, we're simplifying at this point. So one of the things Sandra said is she thought the foreshortening on the wing on the right side would be tough. So part of getting that is to get the shape right, the initial shape. So that's what we'll be working on kind of heavily. You're not going to be doing feather detail. You're just going to be going around the shape. The other thing I'm thinking is that kind of getting the shape of the bird necks, we want to do some breaking down. So hang on, I'm just kind of covering this and coloring this in so that, yeah, you can see that pretty well actually. So one of the things I want you to think about is to break this into pieces. So I'm adding some extra shapes here. Notice it's a little narrower here and a little wider here. Maybe you even imagine. So I had a teacher, I had a Armenian teacher when I lived in Armenia, who was very big on the idea of draw what you can't see and what you can, draw what's invisible. So this is how the birds, if we could look down at the top of the bird and see the both sides of the neck, right? It's really a set of cylinders. So break that apart into pieces. And this, as you're sketching in this part of the wing, do not, oh, hello. Hello. Do not forget about this negative space shape. I might even sketch this in before I try to sketch this part of the wing. So we'll start with that. We're going to do that here too, and I'll catch up with you, right? This is kind of, these are kind of like a donut shapes. But that's one of the ways we're going to really focus on this area. So if you are not using a grid, I want you to very carefully pay attention to these spaces. Also, if you're not using a grid, remember to measure what's like, if, you know, the neck is this, it's like, you know, the neck below the head and where the neck starts to kind of come into the body is really the size of the whole body where the wing goes. So this from here to here, right? This should be equal. Who is that?
That's Lion. He's
Hi,
just
Lion.
very happily sitting next to me and chatting.
They're so chatty. Those
I love that about Bengals. Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, there he is. Leon. He's just sitting there happily.
Oh, and there's a picture. Can you take a picture of him since we have a picture of Sunny too?
You can see him, right? You want
Yeah.
me to take?
Oh, okay. Hi, buddy. Hi. Oh, hi. He's happy because he gets to go outside now.
Yes, and now he's happily, but he loves sitting with me. The other two are sleeping upstairs. He loves sitting. It's a bit hot today. He loves sitting with me when I'm painting.
Oh, that's really great. I love it.
But it's not as bad as your heat wave, Leah. Whoa.
Oh my God.
You're supposed to get 110 in Portland.
I have never, listen, I've lived in the Pacific Northwest my whole life. It's never gotten this hot, ever. Ever. I don't remember it ever being this hot. Yeah, people are freaking out.
I'm worried about the animals too.
Yeah. I know my crow was making a kind of a silent panting, so I put out a big bucket of water, which I'll try to.
Your crow?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You know, I had to rescue a bird from the Bengals yesterday.
Oh dear. Did you make it? Did they make it?
I don't know. I heard this. Oh. I heard this crying, and I rushed outside, and one of them had this in his mouth, and I screamed my head off. I let it go, and I picked it up. I was worried it was going to be my chipmunk.
Oh,
but it wasn't the chipmunk. It was a bird. I picked it up, and it was being guarded by Dragon. I picked it up, and I gently put it in the neighbor's garden. He seemed to be okay, but you know, I'm not sure.
Right.
He did. I didn't see any injuries. He was suddenly very shocked.
There often birds will like kind of still while the shock happens, and then they'll be able to fly away. I bet you.
That's what I'm hoping. But it's such a lush garden. I have no way of checking. I looked for him this morning. I couldn't find him. So.
Well, here's hoping. Hey, that's nature, you know?
I know. Still, I give him a long lecture. They're only allowed to catch insects.
They need any food.
I know they do it. It's, you know, cats are the only animals like men who hunt for fun. The only animal aside from men who hunt for fun.
They're twisted little bastards.
Well, not as twisted as we are, for sure.
Well, yes, we are the most twisted. Absolutely. No question. I'm going to catch up with you guys, but you go ahead and get started. And when you get these shapes in, send me a picture so I may see. Let's see here. Since we're all grading, I'll grid too. So it'll take me a minute to catch up with you. You know, I should really have it just occurred to me, I could totally grid before class, so I don't have to do this. I'll do that. I guess this is good. Anything that slows me down keeps you better. And I know I tend to go a little bit on the fast side. I don't want you to try and keep up with me. I'm sort of trying to be a step ahead of you so that I can take some time. I can demo, but also take some time to look. So keep that in mind. I mean, if you want to try and keep up with me, you're welcome to. But I'm actually kind of speeding up so I can show you the process and then slow down. There we go. As usual, if anybody has some things they want to do, I know.
I'm adjusting my lions. Then I'm going to be done in a little bit.
Great.
I'm seeing new things all the time that I missed.
There's a lot of perspective happening with this.
Hey, off. Sorry.
Sorry, I keep wiggling this. Okay, come on. I can see there we go. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of, that's what's kind of neat about that photo. It's compelling, so you're incentivized to finish it, but there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
To keep correcting.
Sure is.
Yeah, so I want to make sure you guys are all going to wind up with charcoal and ink supplies, because we're going to be introducing those into drawing. And boy, is that, I mean, you don't have to, but believe me, you'll want to. I'll be very jealous of the people who have those supplies, because it's a really neat way of drawing, and it emphasizes different things. Some of the people on this call have been through a year of ink and charcoal drawing already. Can you tell anybody tell the newbies what that's like?
It's messy, but it's a lot more fun.
So fun.
And much faster.
Yeah. Well put. Well put.
And very satisfying somehow.
Yes. So you'll notice as I'm starting to sketch in this neck here, I am going to put these circles in. I'm actually putting dots in first.
Some.
And about, is it halfway? Yeah. I can see the halfway point. So kind of, you know how we do, for those of you who have done figure drawing, you know how we draw the elbow, the shoulder joint, the elbow joint, and the wrist joint, and how they sort of slowly get smaller and smaller. In this particular case, it's kind of similar. Right? Except they actually get a little bit bigger as we get. So this helps me breaking things apart into shapes almost always. I can see it's kind of like that. Almost always helps. And then I can see that this part of the wing comes almost. So you see, I'm actually starting by sketching in the negative space. It very often helps you with that relationship you're struggling to build. You'll see this is really important when you get to, wow, that's interesting. That's exactly halfway. Up a little bit higher than I thought. Notice that I'm kind of checking like at what point the wing, so it's a little bit higher than I thought. Yeah. Just kind of keep it line here and line down here. So you're thinking about things like how, and you know, technically, if you're doing a one-to-one transmission, you're not sure. You could literally come here and then check your, you know, make your measurement the same here as here. Right. There we go. So when you're dealing with things like a foreshortened wing, that means, you know, a wing that's kind of coming towards you. You can, you know, stop thinking about really the fact of what it's doing and think more about how do I think more about this as an abstract shape that makes it easier. The other thing that might be kind of helpful, and I'll do this for you really quick, if you want to, in an area like this where there's a lot of extra lines, you can give yourself extra, if you're using a grid, you can give yourself extra guidelines by lining your pencil up with the alternate edges of each box. See that? So I've done a little cross. So if I put that in here, of course, my goal is to get you out of this eventually, right? Eventually, you're all going to be learning to do things like freehand, but it helps at the very beginning. So I can kind of see, oh yeah, this kind of comes down. Oops. This comes down almost to the center here, right? And then comes across. So it's like a little extra guideline. But what I'm wanting you to get acquainted with in beginning drawing is kind of quickly how different things are than you think they are when you're translating 3 dimensions to 2. Right? Angles are, there we go. That is good. Angles are sharper. Some things are shapes are bigger. Some are smaller than you think they are. I don't think we'll move this anywhere else. See, then this kind of takes me in. Notice I'm not having you draw the top part. not having to draw any of the inside lines yet, as usual. Having to draw the outside lines. This is also a place where one can get really messed up. So notice this is kind of a negative space can help you here. I was noticing that I didn't have my legs here at an angle enough. This one's kind of straight down, this is not. We are ignoring the background. Until we, unless we have time for it. I'm really interested in the structure of these animals. And also of a kind of dynamic pose. Notice, no, we're not doing feathers yet. Also, a dynamic pose that involves more than one animal. That's kind of like what Diana's working on with her lions. Right?
Oh, it's the static pose, I guess.
Well, it's dynamic because there's a movement that's been captured. So
but there isn't much of a movement in Diana's, right? Is that what you meant?
She's working on two islands, lions that are cuddling each other. So it's actually,
so are you saying that it's dynamic like that, or that it's
I'm
not?
saying it's dynamic like that.
Oh, okay, got it.
Towards each other. It's not, of course, all photos are static, right? Like all photos.
No, I meant it's probably, yeah, no, you're right. It's probably less of a movement, but you're right.
What I see is a stretch. When I say dynamic, I mean there's a stretch, there's a pull, there's a fits, one thing coming up, one thing going down. You know, there's like there's a lot of things happening.
I mean, the birds would be moving more than the cuddling lions. That's what I meant.
The concept is still the same.
Right.
Lions can be moving their heads around in their neck like this, right? So they're like, you just caught them in a moment of moving their heads, stretching, straining. That's dynamic move. That's like a move that's not just where you're not just sitting still. You're like
right.
Stretching and straining, right? And so these are single. This is also two figures that are connected as one. So it's dynamic and two figures that are connected as one. So all of those things are kind of, to me, exciting about this pose. I'm looking here now. It's about a third of the way up. I think I put it too far up. Yep. Down a little bit. Top of the head is about a third of the way up the line. The top of this head is much lower. Yeah, anything where you have to kind of fight gravity is, in my mind, a dynamic pose. Interesting. Notice I'm not really doing much with the heads right now. I'm kind of saving that for last. Notice I'm also doing this in pieces. Notice that this circle really kind of bisects.
Is that a bird sound coming from you, Leah?
Yeah, that's my crow.
Oh, that's cool.
Saying hello to you.
That's very nice.
Saying hello. He's a doll. He's hilarious.
Do you have a name for him?
You know, I just call him my crow. I don't. Name him, but I'm always like, I usually call him Sweetie.
Right.
Maybe Sweetie. Maybe.
I think that's very nice that you have a crow.
I love that I have a crow. It makes me feel very like
they're very
like
smart.
More farm, you know, like a little like city farm.
Yeah, I love having wild animal outside. That's why I'm so excited about my chipmunk, but worried about him because my cats.
But crows are very specific about which people they get close to.
Yes, did you read the story about a little girl? She used to collect, like, I think it was in the BBC, must have been in the UK. She held crows, and they used to bring her presents. And she collected them, and she showed her collection.
Wow.
Have you heard about this, Leah?
No, that sounds amazing.
I'll find it for you.
Please. I love it. They're really dolls.
They're amazingly smart.
They're
Yeah.
smart, and they have a sense of humor.
Oh, in fact, it was not in the UK. It was a BBC story, but it's in Seattle.
Oh, no way. It sounds like a very Seattle thing.
I'll send you the story.
Like, thank you. That's lovely. Here, wait, sorry. And I'm trying to get the whole thing in here. So you see, when we're drawing this, it's like we're dissecting kind of a building. We're also kind of dissecting the body into shapes. And I think we're not used to thinking about it that way, right? I think we're used to thinking of the body as a quote unquote organic form, which it is, but it has a structure of, you know, the way we build things is we build what we are. So the way we build things, it has, I think in many ways has a similar structure. Our buildings have a structure to us, although less, you know, often less circular, right? But still, there's like little bits and pieces, there's joints, right, upon which things are connected. I think it's how we understand the world. So there is that construction happening. So once you've got to this point here, I'm going to send it over. Sorry, people might have been sending stuff and I wasn't looking. Let me take a look. Julia. Looks pretty good to me.
I just adjusted them.
Julia on, yeah, these look, I think these look pretty good, you guys. So now you can start going into the, as we know, let me find a color for you. Color. Now we can start going into the inside lines. I have another version of this so we can look at it when we lose this one. Body is here. So we want to kind of pull out the body. We want to pull out some of these folds. We're still not getting into the details of the feathers. And I'll show you a couple of tricks that will make it feathers easier for you. I can't really get into with this piece, it's too big, but I think, oh, hi, Mira. Nice to see you. Okay, you're getting a little too ahead of yourself, Mira, and I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking, were you here at the beginning? Did you hear the point about?
No.
Okay, so look at
No,
what's
I
happening.
joined late, so.
Yes. So I want you to look at what's happening in this square. You've made this shape way too big. Return
Okay.
this thing and get things in the right places.
Okay, got it.
And as well, look, yeah, get rid of these lines. You're not
Okay.
there. I
Okay.
want to see a correction. So also you can draw 2 lines across each edge of this thing.
Okay.
Make sure you
Okay.
get the swing in the right place.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Tashmi, I'm looking. Looks pretty, yeah, so keep going, yes. And these little circles are to help you kind of break things down into smaller shapes. If there's to stack a couple of cylinders on top of each other, this is how it would look. So don't be in a rush with this part. This is the key part. I'm gonna trust you guys to get to this point. I'll go to as well. I really liked this piece because I thought there was a lot of contrast.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, and I love the colors. I thought for anybody who wanted to paint.
Except the white. I guess You have to do what Diana did with his sandbirds and not make it white. I mean, like it's all different shades.
Yeah,
You know, patterns.
yeah, like anything, right? Like that's true about all of this.
I know, but you know, I messed up that guinea pig and left it all white and it doesn't look like anything. In fact, what Diana did works much better.
We'll talk about that.
Although it's true that she was working with something else.
We'll talk about that when we get to it. Oh, and the other thing you can start to do, and I'm going to do this in marker because it's easier for me to mark than to. The other thing you guys can start to do is these negative spaces around the edge. Right? So once you've drawn in this, you're going to do the outside edge of the feathers only. So you can do that too. And you can also mark out the light and the dark areas. So I'll catch up with you in a minute, but that's the general idea. Here, I'll send a picture over so you can really see it. Jackie. Jackie, this shape looks a little thick to me. So bring it, see how this, your shape is a little bit going like this.
Mm-hmm.
Bit of space. So thin that in a little bit, right?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, that's pretty good. Otherwise, looks pretty good. Yeah. It's little, I'm being very particular about this because this is about the shapes that you're not going to get right because you can't guess them. Correct? You know what I mean? You just can't guess them because they're doing something that feels kind of unimaginable. They're doing something, they're coming towards you, which means we have to show them in a different way than we would if we were, say, sculpting them, if we had 3 dimensions. So there's a certain way the angles go. There's your source. Here's where I am right now. Last problem. I think you guys can see my drawing. I'm not going to try and photograph it right now.
Yeah, I would like to do a second one so that I can like try to paint it later. So if I do it without a grid, do you have any suggestions on how to start drawing?
The
I will
paper is going to be
You,
different, by the way.
I will ask you what do you think the suggestions are? Will be,
Yeah, I was thinking first to figure out the height,
right?
how tall I want to make the big bird.
Mhm. So determine the top and the bottom, right? Then find the halfway point,
Okay.
right? And find out where that lies. And then you can determine, you could use the head if you wanted, like we are in figure drawing, or you could just use like kind of the neck as one line. Yeah. And then you'll use those lines to determine how wide across. So start with vertical distance, divide it in half. So if I was really to start with the vertical distance from here to here, right? The top is here. The bottom is here, right? Top is here, bottom is there, because that's where the bottom leg goes. And then the halfway point, let's see if there's any convenient halfway point. Looks like the halfway point is about here.
Okay.
Right? So then you can sketch the neck up from here. Then you can start, you'll see that like the neck, for example, from here to here, it's the same shape as the body, right? So just determine, get the basic shape in place, and then you can use this to determine everything else. Great question. Oh, I can see I need.
But by the way, if you're going to paint it, the most important thing is the paper. Do it on watercolor paper.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Are you going to paint it in watercolor, or are you going to paint it?
Oh,
Or
or
what?
whatever you can paint to do.
I guess I'll do watercolor since that's the paper I had.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about the half plate point thing. So thank you. for-
Right? So it helps you just to determine like where is, right, everything else. When you don't have a grid, you use halfway points. So if I start coming in here, now I'm going to add my body in. So you can see, Mira, like look how thick and high up the body is here, right? It's higher
Okay.
than you had it. And that's like a typical left brain issue where you're not really paying attention, right, to where things are in relation to other things. So that's why these shapes are important. These outer shapes are important to get first. If I can get these outer shapes, it's easier for me to get the inner, the inner shapes right. This is just a series of like triangular shapes. Yeah. Don't rush this process is the lesson here. This is almost a straight line down. Doesn't feel like it should be, but it is. Here's that bone of the shoulder. This is kind of a straight line up.
I'm gonna get another canvas.
You're gonna get a what?
What are you going to paint?
I either gonna do that selfie I took of Sunny and me, or I'm gonna do the doors from a few weeks ago, the tarnished doors with the.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right.
Nice.
I haven't decided yet. Oh, you're laying in front of the door so I can't go out? Are you so smart? She is so smart. You stay here. You stay here. You stay.
Notice I'm reshaping wings as I'm getting into creating these. I had them a little bit too straight. So as I start to go in and add these little triangles that are the shapes, the outer shapes. So this is my favorite way to do feathers, is to start, and also petals, by the way, this also works for flower petals really well, so that you can get the organic shape. I'm not doing like all equal size triangles. I'm actually looking pretty closely at the negative space. Once, of course, I get these in, it's going to be easier to put these lines in. Once I get those outer shapes, and it's also easier to draw these first, it gets you kind of more.
Did you do this to my shoe? No. 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 No.
See that? So I can get things in the right places. And then here it gets a lot more.
No.
So then, see Sandra, see how much more easy this is. I have the top and the bottom. I can get each feather because I already have the kind of trajectory of where it starts.
So what you do is the outer shape and then do the shadows in between kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
As opposed to doing what we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. So it's an easy, so this is easy. I start with these, and this is, like I said, great for flowers with lots of petals too. Here, I'll erase this so you can really see it. Then it shows me where my lines go and feels less overwhelming. The girl who gets gifts from birds. All right, and I'm gonna send you guys a picture of this up close so you can really see it. And I'm going to send you a picture of mine up close. So you see the trajectory makes it much less overwhelming. notice I'm making my lines automatically go the wrong way. They're really kind of curving up towards the top, and I was curving them, at least these ones are. These two lines that I'm drawing. They're curving up, so they're getting a little bit thinner at the top. This is quite a thick one. So to put my, well, you can't do this because you don't have this printed out. You're just looking at it. If you have it printed out, it helps you to actually put your hand here. All right, where am I? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, do you print out your sources for non-class stuff too? Like, is that something we should?
I do often when I'm trying to get started. Yeah, yeah. If you want to do that, that's a great thing to do. Yeah, because I'm like, if I'm wanting to, sometimes I'll look at my computer. Sometimes I'll be working from a sketch that I've made outside. But yeah, very often. It's that.
It's much easier if you're gonna do it well. I find if I do like sometimes a lesson, I don't always, but if I do like a commission, I mean, you know, something to give to somebody, it makes a huge difference if you can print it.
Yeah, I agree.
But the computer is great because over the iPad, because you can really focus in on an area if you can't see it well or need more detail.
Notice that each of these straight lines has its own trajectory. It's not exactly straight. Often they're angled. Right, there's a turn. So then I know that my feathers are kind of in the right place. These ones tend to be a little bit, oops. These tend to be, these are way more diagonal than I have them. Yep, these are way more diagonal. So this is more like that. Right? Also, notice that's what's happening about this break is a lot less important than what's happening over here. There's other details that are kind of taking precedence over these areas. So the detail area you really want to focus on is kind of right out here where the wings are outstretched and bigger. You can do less. Okay. Let me take a shot. And then in here, I can, once again, I'm starting with the kind of outer shape. Oops. Look closely. I'm starting with the outer shape of the feathers here and here. Right, so I can start to get more shape in. Same down here. Now here we see a little bit of the membrane, the skin membrane over the feathers. These are a little bit darker on this side of the bird. There's some kind of dark. The darks are subtler here. By the way, you can erase these once you get them in. Once you get them in, and you get that sort of shape of the neck correctly, you can take these circles out. So that's the nice thing about drawing. You can take things out and put them in, right? I can get rid of these crosses once I've got everything in place. I need to keep them there. And then people are like, oh my God, the miracle, how did you do it? And you're like, it's an ancient drawing secret.
The what did you say? The empirical, the what?
Look at how you got the spherical
Oh, the spherical, right.
neck. Look at how you got that. How did you do that? And you'll just smile quietly to yourself and say, you could do it if you wanted to remember, if you wanted to learn it. Hi, Janet. Nice to see you. So let me get a better. I'm going to send you once again a picture of the birds without stuff on them so you can see different areas. I'm going to take several pictures. I'm going to take a picture of the whole thing. I'm going to take a picture of a couple of close-ups so you can see, right, there's the faces. Here's the wing and the body. Here's the other wing. Here's that troublesome wing. There we go. So you can work on these piece by piece, right? Once you get everything. God, they are the stinking cutest little diggers. And then once again, just to review, we're going to be dealing with value, right? So you're looking for the darkest values. So if one is which is a lightness or darkness green color. So if one is a light and 5 is really dark, 2, 3, and 4 are the midtones that gradually get darker or lighter. How do you tell if something is darker or lighter? You often compare it to what's next to it. So that's why we start with our darkest areas first, because the darkest areas are all, literally all highlighted by a lighter area that's next to them. So start by getting in your darkest shapes. That's going to help you see, which is really this beak here. Or this duo beak. It's kind of hard to tell where one beak starts and the other ends. Everybody wants to get all up in the bird's eye, right? Get the eye, get the thing, but that's often the last thing that you'll do. And notice we can do at the top a similar thing to what we're doing, which is kind of feathered, a similar thing to what we did at the bottom, which is kind of look at these clumps of feathers. So this one really looks like he has a mohawk. I'm not drawing every feather, but I'm drawing kind of the little groups of feathers. as they stick out. And this is very light. So one of the ways I can showcase this is by darkening around it, right? Because it's very nice. It's not as dark as the beak, but it's definitely darker than the light side. Wonderful. That looks like fun.
Leah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna send you my dog. If when you get a chance, if you could give me some advice, please.
Oh, he's looking great.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't look great to me.
Can you send over
Have
the,
a little open mouth in the photo.
yeah, can you send the photo over
Yeah.
again?
What did you say, Diana?
Didn't you have a little bit of an open mouth in the photo?
Not really, but it's got a lot of dark there. Admittedly, I have not finished the mouth.
And you need to get way darker in the mouth. I remember that without even looking at the photo. Send the photo
Right.
across.
Okay.
Yeah, the mouth half open, but maybe I'm mistaken.
You can a little bit see inside her mouth here. Yeah, I guess it needs to be darker. I haven't really done the hair there or anything. But
I think the biggest issue is you're afraid to go too dark with your
yes,
shadow.
I am, because I feel almost that I've gone too dark already.
No, you haven't. I can show you again if you want to. Turn it
No,
into,
you did. I still have your photo.
yeah, turn it into a black and white. Turn this into a black and white. You'll see you still
Oh.
have.
Sorry, I've taken the picture, but I haven't sent it to you.
Okay.
My brain.
There's nothing wrong with your brain.
Oh, you'd be surprised. It's like living with a cretin sometimes.
Well, probably at the moment it's feeling a little discombobulated.
Yeah, it takes a while to get away from the chemo fog.
Yeah, you see he has like a half, like a triangle there by the mouth that it's,
Right. So I need to go darker underneath.
Honestly, you need to go darker everywhere on that left side. Everything is significantly darker. Squint and you'll see you just don't have it dark enough on the left side.
Okay.
On our left side.
Yes, I got completely. Yeah.
So yeah,
the mouth has to be.
darkening the mouth, darkening up the nose, darkening. It's the darks. Now there's some nice light spots. Like I'm going to point them out here, right here, and here, and here. You want to preserve. So just go dark around those areas.
The eyes are beautiful.
Really? I feared I botched them up a little, but
Oh,
I cheated, because
they
I
are,
made the left one was too dark. I made it later.
The
Yeah.
shape is great. Your shapes are really good. So it's just getting the contrast in.
Okay, thank you. So I haven't ruined it yet.
Nope.
no, you
You're
have,
on the right path.
Thank you.
I know, right?
I know you didn't ask my opinion. I just tried.
Oh, no. I want your opinion, Diana. I want anybody's opinion.
Anybody can jump in. This is if you think you know the answer, I want you to say it.
Frankly, you're all viewers. You all have eyes, so.
Right, and everybody can see different things. Yeah, absolutely not. If you're doing it, then I know I've taught you well. So consider that part of your, training. So you see how I'm starting to shade. It probably feels a little darker than it should be. But I know because I'm looking at the areas that are light, right? And it's like the top of the head. I can see that the bottom part is more shaded than the top. So even though this is a quote unquote white bird, it's darker than you think. The lesson of drawing is really, it's more or less than you think. It's not what you think. It's not what you think. You think you're seeing one thing, but really when you look closely, you realize what's actually happening. Once you really take this on as a philosophy, it will change your life. honestly, it'll change your life. Once you learn to see better as a drawer, you will be a better person because you're going to see things more in a more nuanced way. You're training that part of your brain to see things that we wouldn't notice, that we ignore because we project our own ideas of what we think is going on, and sometimes we're just flat out wrong, right? Sometimes we're just wrong. We want to train ourselves to be right. So I'm looking at I'm kind of moving around to see where all the lights and darks are. I'm going to where those areas are. I'm working those first because I know I'm kind of erasing my outer lines when I get it. Because I know that my lights will show up because they're next to my darks. So if I can see a line, right, like this line, what's actually happening? It's darker under here, it's lighter, it's a lighter shade up here, and then up here it's got this beautiful little light lip, because this bird is backlit a little bit, right? So if I can show those 3 transitions, I'm doing pretty good. Same here. See, there's this little triangle that's slightly darker. Why is it darker down here? Why is this spot darker? Anybody have a guess?
Just in the shadows?
Yeah, because it's the belly, right? So it's turned away from the sun. So anything down here is going to be slightly darker because it's turned away from the light. If you look closely here, you'll see there's some subtle shifts happening here. Almost like a sphere, as like the body turns up. So here, where the body is and the wing is, it's a little bit lighter on this side and a little bit darker on that side. You'll start to see more shading differences as you start to get in. You'll be a little frustrated at the limits of your pencil and what your pencil can do. How's that for getting you excited about charcoal and ink? Because there's things that charcoal and ink can do that other things can't, that other mediums just can't do, including the pencil. So my goal is a little frustrated with the pencil, so you'll be excited to try another medium when we start.
It's much more satisfying somehow in the way that the pencil isn't.
Well, it just depends, Sandra, because some people
on people, I suppose, but something
so
about it
depends on who you are and what kind of marks you prefer, and that is a very distinct. You like to paint, so you tend to like mediums that have drawing mediums that have a more painterly quality to them. But some people just love to draw. They love the specificity.
Pencil, yeah.
Right? So it's like a preference. You come down, right? It's a preference. And it's interesting to learn what yours is as you get more into it. I know that what Janet does with that pencil. Yeah, Janet, I'm talking about you. I can tell that the pencil is really one of your favorite mediums. Am I right? Tell me if I'm wrong.
Oh no, you're correct.
I'm correct.
Because
Yeah.
I can erase.
I can tell exactly because I can tell how you use it, how much you like it. You can see I'm a little bored with the pencil. So I get to a point, I don't mean to be, it's not that I don't love drawing, I do, but I get a little bored with the pencil. So at some point I just quit because I'm like, I just so much rather, I can do this so much better with paint. So find yourself, and one way isn't right and another wrong, it's just a way. It's a way. These are all tools, right? Everything I'm teaching you is how to use the different tools. What do they do? Now, it doesn't mean that like me as somebody who likes a paintbrush can't benefit from working with the pencil and that I can't, but I have to think if there's certain mark making that I like, what I have to think is, how do I achieve that similar mark making with my tool, whatever it is. So it's more that, it's more a kind of nuanced understanding of that. And I think that's kind of neat. I think that's like shows the difference between us. I mean, if you look at any class where we're learning any medium, you're going to see a really marked difference in how people do the assignment, even though I'm pushing you to use the similar techniques. You'll be shocked at how different the assignment will turn out and how awesome that is. I am not one of those teachers that wants you to paint like me. I'm absolutely not interested in that. I want you to paint like you. And I'm trying to give you the technique so you can figure it out. Right? Tell you that. So that's one of the things to think about, the difference between pencil drawers and paint brushers. What's the difference between a pencil drawer and a paint brusher? It's all about what marks you like to make and what materials you like to use. I even have ideas about like pencil drawers. I've heard this. I don't know if you guys have ever, I have a good friend who's an Armenian American now, because he has a green card, lives in the States. It lives in LA actually. And Surin and he taught art for a long time. This is much less dramatic. And Surin used to say, we used to both say, yep, there's the pencil drawers are like the novelists of the art world. And the paint brushers are the poets. So what does that mean? That means that one stroke, like novelists are about planning, construction, detail. You have to be able to build a world in a novel, you need a lot of structure. Right? And so a pencil drawer likes structure, likes the structure of the pencil. A paintbrusher wants to see, just like a poet wants to see in one stroke, like a poet wants to convey many things in one word, right? One word is the structure for a poet, right? And a paintbrusher is the same way. A paintbrusher is like, I want to make one mark and have that convey a lot of things. So that's what we say, like the people who prefer the paintbrush tend to be more, they want to do more with less. Let's see. I'm looking, Josh. I don't think that's too bad. Actually, looks pretty good. Let's see how it kind of turns out. I think this leg is not in the right place, but I think you find that when you start to get the body in.
Okay.
Maybe it is in the right place. Anyway, get the body in. See if that it looks pretty good to me. It looks pretty good. Okay, so Olga, if you're gonna, did you grid this, Olga? I can see you did.
Yeah, yeah.
So this arm, I think.
Yeah, it's a bit crispy though.
So this neck, your neck really needs to be a little bit thicker here. See how thick this is? See this shape? I like how your wings are looking. This looks pretty good. Yep, everything looks pretty good. Revisit this head and neck. This one looks good too. So just revisit this. This should be a little bit wider on either side.
Okay.
Good job, hon. I would erase, if you're going to do this in watercolor, I would erase. So are you doing this in watercolor or acrylic?
Yeah, I was thinking about to erase it a bit.
Yeah, erase all the dark, as much dark as you can, because there's some lights here you're going to want to really preserve, and you won't be able to get them if there's too much pencil.
Thank you.
Good job, you guys. Good job. Hey, Sandra, what I do want to say about this painting that I really like is that the drawing is, I mean, the painting is good, but the drawing is great. So.
Well, you know, I print a film now and I overlay it and I make sure it's 100% right, because I figure you know, when we do a wild raccoon, it's a wild raccoon, and we can see it's a wild raccoon. But when it's your dog, you kind of know its features like you would a human's.
You need to get it absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's about marks. It's about all that stuff. So, yeah, absolutely. So are you finding you're getting closer to correct on your own before you do? How many corrections do you have to do?
Oh, a lot until, yeah, I'm not, it never happens that I overlay it and that it's perfect. It never, ever happens.
Hey, hey, little dog.
Well, use it to observe where you're kind of missing the mark, right? Use that to observe it, because I think you'll actually, I'm softening my lines here because they're much lighter as you come in to this part of the wing where more light is coming. I see.
And you know, it's funny you say that because I look at drawing and I'm thinking the nose is too large. It doesn't look right to me, but it is. So
a lot of it is unlearning your ideas about, right? About how things are in two-dimensional space.
I suppose so.
Yep, that's what I'm trying to teach you. If once you can get that, it will change your life. You will understand how, oh, there we go. Okay, right. Just trying to figure out why this didn't look right. You will understand what you've been missing in life, right? by judging it inaccurately. Like, we're all very inaccurate in our judgment. And once you learn where things really are, it'll blow your mind. It has its own logic. That's why we teach perspective, right? Because there's actually a logic to why things look the way they look. The mind may not want to believe it, but it is absolutely true. So you will find as you get better at understanding those rules and how those relationships change when you work, you'll find it'll change. It'll change other things too. It'll change you.
Okay.
I like to say I got less judgmental when I learned to draw better.
You kind of doubted your judgment more, you mean? I mean, or gave.
No, I just became less judgmental about whether something was good or bad. I had a lot of associations that went away once I started to draw shape. I stopped thinking about whether something was good or bad. Okay, Jackie. Leg needs to come up a little bit higher. Take a look, Jackie, at this area really closely. I'm going to take a picture of it so you can see it.
Okay.
It's looking pretty good. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, no, I found I just stopped like using words in my mind, like this is good or this is bad. I'd be like, wow, that hand is really big, or that thigh is huge when it comes towards me, or you know what I mean? Like, I just stopped thinking whatever associations I made with that. And I really made a lot. That surprised me. Here we go. So Jackie, take a look at this area. Bring your leg up a little farther. Look at this shape, right? And this shape. Look at this shape and these shapes. You just don't have time to think about whether something's pretty or ugly or good or bad when you're drawing it. You're just thinking, oh yeah, that's. But also, Sandra, I got to be a much better writer. I mean, I had been writing professionally for 10 years at that point. I got to be a way better writer because I was able to see the construction of my stories much more, the physical construction that my stories would take. That was the other thing.
That's fascinating.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was a very distinct, I never struggled to write ever. I never struggled to write leads. I never struggled to see where things need to go in a story. I used to struggle with that a lot. Man, I just don't do it anymore. It's not hard for me. I became a good editor. I edited for another 5 years after, and some writing, but I mostly edited and did a bit of writing while I was transitioning over to being an artist. I mean, you have to make a living, right? And you have to be
Yes, you do.
style. And you have
That's
to
probably the hardest thing about becoming an artist.
yeah, and you have to be bad at art for a while. So
That's the problem.
to be bad at it. So I was like, oh my God. There was a few very confusing years where it was very hard. I also had to learn that my value wasn't necessarily in my job.
Your job.
My job.
Oh, I see.
job. Sorry, I think of the job, the job you get paid for to make your living. It took a long time for me. I had to separate out a little bit. I was used to, as a journalist, being paid to be creative. And as I was struggling to become an artist, I did a lot of different things to be able to have the time to become good at art. So I would be very bad at art, and then I'd have to be doing whatever to make money. And I did all kinds of things. I did some teaching, I did some writing, I did some editing, but I also bartended, and it was confusing.
It terrified me, that idea.
It was confusing. It was really confusing. I kind of like a little chaos, so it didn't bother me too much, but it was confusing. For a while, I was like, wow, what's my value? I'm doing this dumb job. Now I'm doing this smart job. I don't feel very smart, you know. It was an interesting time. I wouldn't go back to it. It's like saying go back to high school.
No,
like,
it's
never.
terrifying in a way.
Yeah. If you don't think about it too much, it's not so bad. You just kind of dive in. But it changed a lot of things for me as my vision as a drawer got better. I understood how much I was judging and evaluating in an incorrect way all of the scenes that I was seeing, everything that was in front of me. And so it taught me a lot about how to shift that. It's interesting. It was like a Buddhist lesson. By the way, you can use your background as well if you're trying to show the difference between, say, this value, that value, and this light value. So I can get really dark over here to really push my light. My light won't look very light next to a light background. This is when you really start to see, oh yeah, I have to think not just about my subject, but my background. When I'm making a picture, these are all part of the same thing. See, we value the subject, but in reality, the background is really important when you're putting in a picture. Particularly if you've got a light area you want to highlight next to a medium to dark area here. So if you're thinking about that light area, you have to think not just about this light shape, but what are the shapes next to it and what values are they, so that I can convey what needs to be conveyed. That's a very different way of thinking about it's a meta way of thinking about your subject. It's a bigger grown-up way. It's thinking about everything, not just not just focusing in on the subject that you see. Now you guys got me all philosophical.
Okay, here comes the dog again.
Let's see.
I'm not happy with it.
Well, you know, actually, what you know, Sandra, is that sometimes when you're not happy with it is when you got it right.
In terms of being loose, but I don't think that's even loose. I don't think it's loose. I haven't done the whiskers.
No, it's much better, significantly better, so much better. You need to get darker up in here. There needs to be a distinct shift between this side of the nose and this side of the nose.
So I've added some blue on the left, but it's
Yeah,
not enough.
Great. The more dark it is, the better it gets.
Okay.
So, and what really you have to do here, I'll show you in the picture what's going on. Really, you can see.
Hold on, you're off camera somehow. Let me see.
Oh,
Let me
sorry.
switch to you active speaker. That's it. That's it.
Okay, so when I come
can-
here, if you see this area from here over, it really is significant, except for these little light spot areas popping out. It really is significantly darker than what's happening over here.
Okay, I see it now.
You see it, what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's really great. Where it looks really great is where you got the darks right. Here, here, here.
But this is not as dark.
Yeah, the mental shift, the mental problem that you're having, the thinking problem that you're having is
Can you move to the left a bit, please?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
So the mental problem that you're having is that you think that this whole area of the nose is one thing. And you also, at some level, think that this side should be similar to this side, but it's not. This side is like a 2, and this is like a 3.5 or a 4. The same area is a totally different shape. That's mentally, and actually with this sort of high res, you can really see the difference. See the difference? So this half of the top of the nose is dark, and it's really pushed against this other half of the nose. And this part of the cheek, even though these are the same areas, this side is really significantly lighter than this side. And that's the thing that's hard to mentally wrap your mind around. We want to make these the same, but they aren't.
Right.
Right?
Okay, thanks, Leah. Yeah, you're right. I'm afraid to go too dark because I'm thinking it's going to look weird.
You know, that's what you need to do.
Okay.
It's looking better. So that's what I mean by, Sandra, what you think is not good is actually good. What's bothering you are the areas where you didn't do it. The areas that you did the dark looks great. So yeah, it's a whole, I remember that aha moment for me when I was like, oh, when there's 2 sides of a face and it's lit on one side, the same part of the face on this side will be lighter and this will be darker. It will really be a difference in value, a significant difference in value, because you feel like it should be the same. Your brain tells you, that these are the same pieces.
Yeah, it's also how to make it darker. I'm always afraid to use the wrong tone, the wrong color, I suppose. But yes, it's working. Thank you.
You're welcome. So it's not what we think.
No, it's not, is it? I mean, well, mind you, I do ever do that and go too dark too fast.
Right. Yes, absolutely. You've done it but what you should feel good about is, oh, wow, I've constructed this exactly the right way so I can do what needs to be done, right? Correctly. I've actually done this and built this in the proper way so I can do what it needs. And that's what you should be feeling good about is, oh yeah, this is exactly where it needs to be, rather than I don't like it, right? So you'll get to a point where you'll be like, oh, right. This has to look like this so that I can get it to the place where it can look like how it looks. Right. It's a very different way. It's a pacing. It's an understanding how long things take. It's an understanding about how things will look awkward before they look good, right?
It's always a scary part. I have it in pastels as well, where I think I'm lost or I've completely ruined it.
It's usually the finishing areas. Knowing how to finish.
But if you push through.
Yes. I know. I right now have a commission of 3 guys and a dog that I need to get done. And the faces are fairly small, so they're pretty challenging to paint actually because they're small. And I'm waiting for the moment when my focus is really on and I can do it. I have them kind of sketched out right now, but now they're not quite right. The dog is good. Nobody else is good. They're all in the very And
That's the most important bit is my dog.
right, the dog is good. The dog I got, but everybody else is a little bit like, meh, I can see it, but I need the right tool. I need to get a slightly smaller brush, and but more importantly, I need to have the focus to be able to go in there and make those changes. And I don't always have it. So I'm working on a bigger portrait right now just to get me ready to go in there, do that thing. And I know I'll be able to do it, but yeah, it's not, but you're gonna have to kind of be, for these finishing things, you have to be ready.
Yeah.
You
I'm
have to,
seeing the dog owner tonight, but although I don't know whether to bring it yet because I don't know whether she's
you're gonna finish it. Sandra,
driving. If she's taking an Uber, I don't know whether it's a good idea to bring it.
We're gonna finish
you're
it.
gonna finish it. Totally gonna finish it. You are completely and totally finishing it.
Just so you know.
Yeah, just so you know, you don't have an option. Just finish it. But I understand that feeling, but you just have to dive in and go. You're at that moment where you're like, I just have to finish this.
I'd like to because it feels like a lot of pressure. I don't know whether I could become professional because of it, but I guess it goes away. It's a bit like stage fright.
Honestly,
Pride never goes away for most people.
it never goes away. It's pressure. It's a lot of
You
pressure.
still have it, Leah?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah, every single one. I'm feeling that pressure with this commission I'm working on now. I know I have until July 6th to finish it. Yeah, a lot of pressure. There must be some parts of your job that feel pressured.
Yes.
I would be
Yes,
bored.
absolutely. Absolutely. When I do the Oscar snapping, it's a hell of a lot of pressure because you can really mess it up,
Right,
which I did one year.
right.
What did you do?
So what we do is I send all the alerts, right, about who wins what category. We don't do all the categories. And in order to be incredibly fast, we have to write all the alerts in advance. And I have each tab, so each category is a tab on this machine. And on each tab is like 5 possible winners, and I have to be incredibly fast and send the right one. But one day, what did I do? It's so fast that you can't see it disappear off your screen. And so I think one year I pressed 1 and it didn't seem to have exmitted. So I had a handbrake on it. I had a handbrake. You can have a handbrake. And I wasn't able to override the handbrake.
Oh.
So I insisted, and by insisting, by doing it again, I sent several categories all at once, including categories that had not yet been decided, and in which I had all 5 as winners.
Oh my God.
It was a complete disaster, but fortunately, the French desk noticed, but there are not many people awake at that hour. I guess Asia. It's it's late for the East Coast. But I was very tired. I completely messed it up.
Right. But I bet you never did that mistake again.
No, hell no.
So that's what painting on commission is like. It's the part of the job that's a little bit stressful. But
I blame the machine, by the way. I blamed the machine, by the way.
We just put out a new software for release for that.
Really?
If you've seen it. Yeah, you're using links alerting, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we just had a software release. That's so we make the tools that you use in my team.
Oh, that's fantastic, because I was in touch with the product manager every year before I go.
Sachin.
What is the name?
Sachin Achar.
Yeah, she's changed. It used to be a Chinese lady.
Oh yeah. Yes, absolutely. So so that's Jancy Long.
That's
yeah.
right. That's
Yeah,
right.
she's in
Because I
my
was
team.
always interested in, you know, like being faster, like latest tools. I
Uh-huh.
can't remember. I think that's the year where possibly we had like the urgent attached, and he did something to the handbrake. I can't remember the details. But yes, I love links alerting, and I was a bit worried that you know, nowadays that they might neglect it. But when it comes to this scenario snapping, and that's like the biggest scenario snapping event in the world, that we don't have anything comparable. So I hope it never gets abandoned.
Well, we're putting a lot of stuff into FastWire now. And long term, we're probably
Into what?
into FastWire.
Yeah, that's the problem. And FastWire doesn't do the same thing, does it? That's the thing. There's so much focus on FastWire, but I felt
doesn't.
like links
Yeah.
alerting was getting a bit neglected.
It has been a bit neglected, but we've just done a bit more to it. But I think long term they'd like to put all the functions of links alerting into FastWire, so we don't have as many tools to support. And then we can,
Okay, well, so long as they don't forget about scenario snapping, because that's one thing that's very that it's fantastic for.
Well, isn't that interesting though? So now you can't blame the machine anymore because you'll be blaming.
No, it's me. I blame the software as well.
Anyway, my point with all of that, and I love that aside, because that's of course what we really want you guys to be able to do, is to get how you in this big company, your jobs interact with each other. It's kind of neat. It's a new way to do that. But also, so just the ability to be able to do that in this class is really great. My point just being that like being an artist professionally, just like anything else, has some very tough parts of it. And commissions are the hardest because you have less leeway. I mean, the tough part about not doing commissions is that you're reliant on painting something somebody wants to buy, right? So you can paint more what you want. You've got a little bit more leeway, but you still have to sell work. Commissions are sort of a sure way to sell
money.
Yeah, but you got to get it right. And that's stressful. But everybody's job is stressful, and we kind of embrace that stress because otherwise it would be really boring, right? So we go towards the stress because we know that's where we're going to grow. And that's what I'm hoping for you here. If you start to understand really profoundly how learning to draw correctly. And now I'm looking at this piece and seeing, actually, talk about corrections. I'm looking at the neck and seeing now how can I nuance my neck. I can see that the neck is actually really skinny here, and then there's a slight jog, and it comes down and in, right? A little bit. So I can start to correct things. I know I've constructed this, rather than feeling bad I didn't get that right on the first go, I feel really good about this because I'm like, I've constructed this in such a way that I can go back in and fiddle with this and know that it's generally in the right place. So it's sort of changes things. It changes how you judge things. It changes how you judge yourself. Should be less hard on yourself if we understand our process and we build in a system where we can indeed correct. There we go. Yeah, that's better. So I'm now, and I think it'll look a lot better when I get dark in behind this.
By the way, I'm having a big celebration tonight for the end of my cancer.
Yay! What are you gonna do?
So I'm inviting, well, so there are a lot of people who helped me. I had like this WhatsApp group that I would call for help when I needed, like I need a lift or I need, something like this. And so this is my core group. I'm taking them out to a Japanese Korean restaurant.
Oh, for sushi.
Yeah, it's fantastic sushi, and it's got I've always loved sake, but the Koreans have got a different kind of rice wine, which I've fallen even more in love with, and it's called makgeolli.
Oh.
And it's drunk cold. It's a little bit sweet. It's a little bit fizzy, and it's cloudy.
Ooh.
And it's really good for you. Well, unfortunately, it's pretty high in calories, but it's really good for you because it's fermented.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so it's a bit like, it's got like some of the benefits of yogurt in a way. And I absolutely love the stuff. And I like this place, it's Korean Japanese, because it's got both this fantastic sushi or sashimi and makgeolli, as well as sake. And they serve sake in teacups, like so in tea kettles rather, so like vast amounts, right? And that's now I know why. It's because makgeolli is served in tea kettles.
Oh, how lovely. What a cool thing, Sandra. That's really awesome.
Well, it's a bit far, but we've got a very big Korean community on the outskirts of Washington in Virginia. So it's like half an hour away. But it's well worth a trip, this place.
It sounds wonderful. And it sounds to me like you had what I'm Jewish on my father's side of the family, but my mother's side, I'm Quaker. And the Quakers have what we call Quakers set up a care committee for anybody who's ill. And then people sign up, right? Like you technically should have been keeping the calendar, but I guess in a way you needed to because you knew your appointments and all of that. But the idea is that like people, like jobs and tasks are put out like you did on the WhatsApp group, and then people pick them up as needed so that a person gets taken care of, but not in an overwhelming way, right? Everybody can help.
So it was a bit like that. Yeah, I would say, can somebody help me with this, or can somebody help me with that?
You have
and it was fantastic. Without these people, I wouldn't have made it. I would have been incredibly difficult.
It would have been a lot, yeah. Because the cats, as great as they are, just aren't gonna take care of you.
They can't take you to chemo when you need on a snowy day.
Not drive you to your appointments. That sounds really fun.
Cats are that?
Sorry?
What kind of cats are that?
They're cool cats, Diana. Cool cats. Yeah, I would be worried if my cat could drive me to my appointments.
Yeah, would you trust their driving? If they saw a wild animal on the side, they'd probably swerve to get it.
There's a very funny
There's
a very funny Saturday Night Live skit from the 90s called Toonsis the Driving Cat. And it's all about, it's like, hey, that cat can't drive. So they throw a picture of Toonsis in front of the wheel. Toonsis the driving cat, the cat that drives. And you hear, no, Toonsis. Okay, now I have to find it. I'm gonna find it and send it over to you. Does anybody else remember this, or is it just me? Toonsis the driving cat.
I've never heard of it, Mia, but
it's very funny for that very reason. Hold on. My friend YouTube, you can help me here.
yeah, they don't have a great attention span, except when they're hunting.
All right, here it is.
Wow, these cranes look great.
Yeah, they do look great.
Real vodka, real juice.
All right.
And may you never settle for a home-based hard seltzer.
Ah, stupid ad, stupid ad, stupid ad.
Imagine having to rely on driving cat.
You won't believe it. Tootses can drive a car.
Tootses is our cat?
Yeah, come on, I'll show you.
Steve Martin.
Perfect day for a drive.
Yeah, pretty?
It's a fantastic day.
Yeah.
See, I told you he could drive.
Tootses, look out! I'm sorry, it's so sick. But it's really, that's Tootses the drive. That's basically, you're right. Why? Cat can't drive. You cannot have your cat drive your car.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust him.
All right, enough entertainment. The people who watch this video will be like, what the hell? Hey, I have to train you guys in pop culture as well. For anybody who's younger than 40, you probably don't remember that. And if you weren't in the US watching this show, you do not have seen it.
That's happens a lot to me with cultural stuff that are so American.
Yeah, yes, that's a very American joke. But it's funny.
Yeah, actually, I lived in the States from ages 15 to 20. So it's like the late 70s, early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of stuff that I do know, but I did watch.
Right.
But then a lot not.
I met a lady who is in her 60s, who was raised as a Mennonite.
Mm-hmm.
And she said she doesn't understand TV references at all. So she's in her.
Well,
50s.
because she never watched it. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, he's like, she said all of a sudden, like people will be talking and she'll say, wait, are you guys talking about television? And they'll say, yeah. And she'll go, oh, right. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I have no idea.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. All right, we've got about, can you believe it? We've got about 15 minutes left.
Wow, and I haven't even sketched out my drawing. I haven't even sketched out my painting.
That's okay, take your time.
That's where I'm at.
So Jackie, you're gonna love charcoal. I can tell you right now, by the way you're using this pencil, you're going to love charcoal.
Well, I'm getting frustrated with the
What's
pencil.
that?
I am getting frustrated with the pencil.
Yep, you're gonna love charcoal. So get yourself that package before. Order it now because it ends fairly soon. So there's some, let's see. There's a little bit more shapes here in the, I'm pointing here, but I don't know why. Oh, I'm sorry, over here. Just pointing at the wrong one. There's a little bit more dark and light shaping you can use with a stronger pencil, like a stronger, like more contour lines. So I'm going to take a picture of that.
Okay.
Add those in. But it's cute. It's very sweet.
Thank you.
I mean, let's see. Yeah, there we go. Tunes, this, the cat, that dress. You can see, for example, that the tail here is darker, and there's a kind of strong line here that differentiates it from what's happening in the wings here.
Yeah.
So look for these edges where you can maybe add a stronger contour line, maybe make a slight distinction between darker here and lighter here, right? Like areas, look more closely now to get those variations, to get those sort of closer details. It's so funny, everybody wants to do the details when they shouldn't, and nobody wants to do the details when they can't, when they should. Like, it's like this weird backwards thing. I like to think that all of two-dimensional art is about edges. It's about a darker edge meeting a lighter edge, right? This is, in fact, I don't have this in very well. So when I see this, I'm like, it's a little bit darker here. And there's a kind of a little splash, right? A little bit darker here. And then those darks come down here. I'm not getting too caught up in the specifics. I'm more looking at the general. And then I can see here that this area is kind of significantly darker. Than like what's happening here. So I'm just paying attention to how things, and I'm also seeing that these lines are way too strong. I like how you use the background though, Jackie, to start to get some value differentiation in here, right? So part of it is that my marks are way too strong here, so they're distracting from the slight darkness of the body. So I'm erasing them out a bit. I'm running my eraser lightly over the top of them to make them less pronounced. Yeah, I can go around the edges and make it darker. Right, that will help. See how all of those things are kind of this has to be way darker. I can see a little bit more darkness here. Also, everything in this part of the wing is really dark, except for this tiny light edges, these kind of wingspanny edges. So that is also something. See how as I start to add, it's a little bit darker up here. It's kind of darker here. There's this sort of light. So as you start to pay more attention to these shapes in here, it's hard to see. I'm gonna put them up here. Boy, I didn't even turn this one upside down for you guys. Sorry, I should have done that. Yeah, here. Look at how dark everything is back here, except for this light layer. Oh, nice, Olga. Let me see. I'm glad you just to draw that. I thought about you. And I like how you're going kind of light. You went a little bit dark with his body, but I sort of think it works here.
Yeah, he looks a bit like a monster.
He looks it's a little strong, right? So it's really, this whole side is kind of light, this shape, right? And then everything else is like kind of, everything back this way is kind of darker.
Mm-hmm.
Lighter. And I see you got a little bit dark, but I don't think it's troublesome. Anyway, I think it's a really good attempt. It's a tough one. I don't think I would make you guys paint this. I think it's really tough to paint this. If you can see here, yeah.
It's really nice to paint it because
I think it's very nice.
it's amazing to paint it.
The colors are pretty. And the softness and the,
And
yeah.
you managed to conquer the white, which is not easy.
Yeah, you might try going over, Olga, with white, some of your areas to see if you can pull them back out. See if you can do that. in the
Yeah.
wing.
But it works. You can tell it's a white bird.
Yeah. I don't think it looks monstrous. I just think it looks a little bit dark on this. In this
Mhm.
area. But other than that, I think it looks lovely.
Thank you.
I can't believe I didn't even sketch out my drawing in this.
In this session.
Yeah.
But Diana, you have I'm glad that you do what you do. Oh, Tashmeen, that's looking great. I'm glad you do what you do because Josh, look a little bit at this transition here. What's happening here? I'm going to take a picture close up because I think this is a pretty easy correction. Hold on. And you know, Josh, I'm only giving this to you because you've done a great job and I want to help you go one step farther. So I'm not like saying bad job, but I am saying here, this,
I'm ready.
right? Look at the neck here and how it kind of comes down, right? Rather than, see if I can show you here, there's kind of a more gradual. It doesn't really curve like this. There's the neck comes in and then there's this structure, it's in his bones that comes up like that.
Okay. Yeah.
It seems like a small thing, but it's a big thing.
The whole front of a body. So that's a big thing.
Look at a dog coming again.
Let's see. You're gonna finish it.
Oh,
It might be finished right now. Diana and
no, I haven't done the whiskers or anything.
Oh, it looks great, Sandra. It's good.
Really?
It's great. Do this. Do the whiskers, and do a slightly softer edge. Okay, so right here, do a slightly softer edge. Give me just a second, guys.
Andrea, that's amazing.
Really?
I like the dog. Yeah, and the
Oh,
eyes.
I don't like.
Very nice.
Oh, yeah, very kind.
Okay. Hey guys, I'm gonna take this down for a second. Remove the spotlight. I'll stop.